Which is not very.
ये next step together.
हमारी बहुत ही है उसकी।
हाँ?
है होता है।
Hello, educators. It is indeed a pleasure to welcome you all to yet another session of STAR. I also extend a very warm welcome to our loving audience who has joined us from Facebook and YouTube. While teaching is a tough job and is further getting tougher with every passing day, managing school operations is no easy either. Starting from registrations, affiliations, to land bill rules, fee regulations, teacher welfare, development, statutory compliances, wages to income tax, GST, safety regulations. Come to think of it, it is a non-ending list. I would say kudos to our unsung heroes who work behind the scenes to ensure learning happens without any hurdles. So we are very fortunate to have with us three stalwarts of school management. They are people who have not only followed the guidelines, but have been part of various committees formulating them too. They will be now sharing with us some of these guidelines, the essence behind them, why they were started, what is the implication of not following them, what should be the situation in various situations, how should you handle them and come up with the solutions to them. They will also be talking of some recent amendments and judgments that have been passed by the Honorable Supreme Court of India. These three strong minds will actually tell us how to stay compliant and continue to function without any challenges. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's first welcome Advocate Shri Damodar Goyalji, who will start with the discussion. Over to you, sir. I will first introduce the three of them. Sorry, I should have spoken about it before. So, Mr. Damodar Goyal is a commerce graduate from Rajasthan University. He is a consultant to various educational institutions and founder president of Society for Unaided Private Schools of Rajasthan, which was established in 1997. Under his leadership, the society challenged Section 12(1)(c) of the Right to Education Act 2009, which is mandated that all private schools reserve 25% capacity in elementary school, that is class 1 to 8, for poor children and provide them free of charge education with partial reimbursement from the state government. The society's writ petition was partially upheld by the Supreme Court. Mr. Goyal is also a management consultant to a large number of private schools across the country. A strong advocate of enabling private schools, Mr. Goyal is a proponent of demands that are backed by his pragmatic approach and problem solving. I'll go to the next participant, next speaker, CA Bikram Agarwal. He completed his bachelor's from Agra University in Commerce and thereafter qualified as a chartered accountant in 2004. He has a working experience of over 18 years in various industries like beverages, banking, manufacturing, and now for the past 9-10 years he's been engaged with Jaipuria Group. Before that also he's worked with various education organizations. He's a specialist in the field of financial management, accounting, auditing, taxation, and banking. So he has been associated with Jaipuria Group for almost a decade now. And can we go to the next one? So Anshu is also a chartered accountant and has been working in the field of financial management, accounting, auditing, taxation, and banking for the past 15 years now. She has been associated with Maharaja's Savai Mansingh Vidyalaya, Jaipur as Director Finance and Auditing, Accounting. Her expertise and experience have been recognized and appreciated in the field of finance. So we will start with Mr. Damodar. and then of course as we go. Oh, okay.
I
So
think-
some rules, Vikramji, just a minute. Some rules that we will follow before we really move on. So they have been displayed over here, of course. So you will keep your connections on mute and your cameras and videos on. You all need to sit in an appropriate and work conducive settings. If you have any questions, you can put them in the question box in the participants chat. And you can give a thumbs up as a positive reply to the trainer from your reaction box. And you can keep a notepad ready to note down whatever you liked, of course, for yourself. And if there is still anything at the end of the question of the session, you can raise your hand, and we will let you ask one or two questions in the end. So I will now hand over actually to Mr. Bikram Agarwal to start the session. So over to you, Bikramji. Happy learning, all of you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Anjali, for giving the opportunity to address the audience and update about the legal and statutory compliances which are applicable to the educational institutions and the schools. First, I will share with you my screen. So during that presentation, we will try to cover most of the acts and provisions which are applicable on the educational institutions and the schools. So we will try to cover 17 of the act, such as the Society Registration Act, CBSE bylaws, and many more. Okay, so now I'm starting the session with first Society Registration Act and Trust Act. That registration, that any school or any college can be run in India under a society which is registered under Section Society Registration Act 1860 or under an Indian Public Trust Act, or the institution can also run under a company which is registered under Section 8 of the Companies Act. Mainly this type of company is the profit oriented company, you can say the charitable companies. So the registration is mandatory, and under that registration any educational entity can run. Okay, as per the recent Supreme Court judgment, a society has to be registered under a trust act also. Society can also be registered under a trust act also if the local laws, अगर वो local state के laws permit कर रहे हैं, then उसकी case में वो किया जा सकता है. And in the memorandum of the association of that trust or society, the education has to be the main object of that trust and society, and accordingly that society will run that institution. And basically अभी जो recently CBSE की guidelines भी हैं और जो judgments भी हैं कि in case if the in case of dissolution of the society, then there should be an enabling provision कि वो उसी तरह की दूसरी किसी similar societies को उस trust और society की assets को transfer कर दिया जाएगा. So these are the basic things which are applicable. Actually ये सभी लोगों को जो लोग ट्रस्ट स्कूल और कॉलेज चला रहे हैं उन लोगों ने ये प्रोसेस फॉलो किया होगा. बट इसमें एक चीज है, हर स्टेट में डिफरेंट सोसाइटी रजिस्ट्रेशन एक्ट के कुछ रूल्स हैं. जैसे स्टेट ऑफ यूपी में इन एवरी 5 years जो भी रजिस्टर्ड सोसाइटीज हैं उनका रिन्यूअल कराना होता है. एंड दिस रिन्यूअल हैज टू बी डन बाय द रजिस्ट्रार ऑफ सोसाइटी ऑफ द लोकल एरिया. एंड इन सम स्टेट्स इसका रिन्यूअल रिक्वायर्ड नहीं रहता, जैसा भी उन स्टेट्स के अकॉर्डिंग रूल्स में. जैसे दिल्ली में रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है, एंड आई बिलीव राजस्थान एंड सम अदर स्टेट्स में भी रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है. Now I'm coming on the CBSE affiliation and examination bylaws. Every school is supposed to upload their data on OSS and UDICE portal on a regular or on a prescribed dates, which has been given by the CBSE and the state officials. Registration of the class 9th and 11th students and submission of list of candidates of 10th and 12th, जो basically board exams है उसकी list and registration की formalities है जो हमें जो CBSE के पोर्टल पर डालना होगा. Meet post affiliation requirement in relation to staff and service conditions, fees, admissions, curriculum, syllabus, website. तो जो एफिलिएशन से रिलेटेड जो हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, जिन कंडीशंस पे हमें एफिलिएशन मिला है, उसके हमें कंप्लायंसेस मीन टाइम टू टाइम एंड करने होंगे और उसको हमें अपनी वेबसाइट पे अपलोड करना होगा. Appointment of physical education teachers, counselor and special educator in school. Now it is also required कि कोई फिजिकल एजुकेटर को स्कूल में एंड काउंसलर को हमें स्कूल में अपॉइंट करना होगा. Apply for the extension of affiliation with fire safety, building safety, water and sanitary certificates. These are very important. Fire safety, building safety and water safety certificates is required to be taken by the school individually. And then at the time of renewal of the extension and or extension of the affiliation, they have to submit it with the CBSE. Now I'm coming on the major thing. As per the CBSE bylaws, there are only two positions which has been run by which runs the school or the education institution. One is the principal and another is the manager. Manager is basically the non-academic person of the school. The principal is the ex officio member secretary of the school management committee, and the duty to ensure that all the provisions of affiliation, examination bylaws and directions from are complied with. Mean principal is the key person जिसको इंश्योर करना है CBSE को कि जो भी CBSE से रिलेटेड बायलॉज हैं या एफिलिएशन से रिलेटेड रूल्स रेगुलेशंस हैं उसको वो टाइम टू टाइम फॉलो करते हैं. एंड allot and supervise the work of teaching and non-teaching के जो भी वर्क हैं उसके एलोकेशन करना और उसके साथ में स्कूल के जितने भी नॉन एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव वर्क हैं इंक्लूडिंग सम एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव वर्क आल्सो उनको कंट्रोल करना. But the manager is another key person in any school who is basically the non-academic head, and this manager is basically the link between the society and the school, and he is also the person who will also deal with the CBSE on behalf of the school and on behalf of the society. That manager is supposed to sign. I think कुछ वॉल्यूम आ रही थी. दर्पण, can you check? दर्पण. Darpan, are you there? Darpan, kindly unmute the people who.
Sure, sir.
The manager will also sign the appointment and suspension letter and countersign all the correspondence, affiliation and recognition, and exercise financial functions and general supervision related and delegated by the management. And he is also interfering between the society and the school and playing a very important and vital role. Mean if there is any lapses on account of any non-academic function, then the manager can be the responsible person, and on account of any academic function or the overall function, the principal is the key person. I think the teacher's qualification. Teacher's qualification, NCT is a statutory body which provides the minimum qualification for all the teachers, such as the B.Ed and the specialization knowledge which is required for the schools as per the CBSE guidelines and all that. And as per the RT Act 2009, the CBSE affiliation bylaws provide school should appoint teachers with a minimum qualification prescribed by the NCTE. Degree in education B.Ed from the recognized institution university is mandatory. And now this is the act which has been came in 2009, and this is Right to Education Act. This Right to Education Act is starting. Right to Education Act. This act is basically enacted by the government with the intention that all the children which are underprivileged get the minimum education from the government school, and if the government school is not able to provide or they are not having the sufficient numbers, then the private unaided school is also required to take the admission under the RTE Act. So in that act, the 25% of the seats of the initial seat, the starting class of the school seat should be reserved for the admission under the RTE Act in any private schools. Suppose if your school is starting from the class of 1, then this means in the class 1 you have to reserve the 25% of the seats for the RTE students. And if your school is starting from the class nursery, then in the nursery you have to reserve the 25% of the seats. Okay. Now, as per that act, it is also prohibits for the physical punishment, mental harassment, and some other means in private tuitions by the teachers, and running the school without any recognition. So basically, this act has been enacted to increase the or to spread the education within the people who have not taken the education, or they are not financially financially good, so that they can get admitted their child in the school. As per the RT Act, every state government has enacted and float their own guidelines for the admission and for the implementation of that RTE Act 2009. Now I'm coming on a very special act which has been enacted in the 2018. I'm covering that act due to there are a lot of queries from the people that they want the clarity on the Uttar Pradesh Self-Finance Independent School Fee Fixation and Fee Act, because I think most of the people is belonging to the UP. So I'm covering that act. Basically, this act is applicable. First, I'm discussing the application of the act. This act is applicable on the all independent self-finance schools, whether it is pre-primary, upper primary, primary, high school, and intermediate. And whether these schools is affiliated from UP state government board, or from CBSE, ICSE, IB, IGCSE, or from any other board. But the prime condition is that if this school fee structure is more than 20,000 rupees per annum, then this act will be applicable on these educational institutions. Minority institutions recognized affiliated by the board is also covered under this act. Yeah, but as you see that the pre-primary schools are covered if this pre-primary school is a part of the main school. And if your pre-primary school is an independent pre-primary school, then this act is not applicable. It is very clear in the act that independent pre-primary schools is not this act is not applicable. Now I'm talking about the permissible fee head as per section 3(1) of that act. After the enactment of the fee fixation act of the UP, there is a government has given the heads under which any school can charge the fees from the students. One is prospectus and registration fees. It is very common. Every school is charging the prospectus and registration fees. And after that, admission fees. This is the one-time admission fees on any new admission. And apart from that, examination fees can also be charged. These all fees you can say prospectus and admission fees only one time. Examination fees depend upon the number of exams. And now most important changes which has been brought by that act is composite annual fees. Composite annual fees is the merger of all other recurring fees. All other recurring fees such as tuition fees, annual fees, or any other fees which has been charging by any school. Now they have to charge these fees under the name composite annual fees. These fees they can charge either on monthly basis, quarterly basis, or half-yearly basis. Not more than that. They cannot ask the students to pay the fees on an annual basis. Apart from that, the school is also providing some other facilities to the students, which is in the optional nature, such as transportation facilities, boarding facilities, mass dining, excursion. So the school can also charge the optional fees from the students who are opting the optional facilities which has been provided by the schools. So it is very much clear the school can take a composite annual fees on a regular basis, and apart from that, examination fees also. And other than that, admission fees and prospectus is only one time of the students in any school. And the major changes this act is brought in relation to the refundable security. That security money can only be taken at the time of admission. That security money in any case cannot be more than 50% of the composite annual fees. So what do you mean composite annual fees? Mean the name is composite annual fees, but the periodicity of payment of the composite fees can be monthly, quarterly, or half yearly. So accordingly, the security money cannot be more than 50% of the composite annual fees on which basis the school is charging. Okay, and it will be refunded with interest whenever the student is pass out from the school. Then initially there is no interest payment on the payment or on the refund of the caution money or security money. But after the enactment of that act, the school is supposed to pay the interest as the Saving Bank of India (SBI) as the saving SBI is giving the interest on a saving bank account. On the same rate, the school is supposed to give the interest on that amount, and it should be refunded within 30 days. जब भी बच्चा छोड़ेगा उसके 30 दिन के अंदर TC के साथ में the school is supposed to pay the security money back to the students. Now this is the section 4.1, and this is the section which forced the government to bring that act, to bring a similarity, to bring the system about the fees increase. Because before that act, any school can increase the fees. Some schools can increasing the fees by 10%, some is increasing by 20, 25. There is no limitations and there is no act. But the government, after enacting that act, is restricted the fees hike and give them process that how the school can determine and how the school can yearly basis increase the fees. So this mechanism has been given by the UP Fee Regulation Act, and as per section 4.1, a school can revise its fees annually. And this annually revision of the fees will depend upon the two criteria. Number one criteria is that the school has to check the average increase in per capita increase in monthly salary of teaching staff. जो आपने स्कूल ने टीचिंग स्टाफ की पर कैपिटा मंथली सैलरी में जो इंक्रीज हुआ है और जो सीपीआई जो लेटेस्ट गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया ने कंज्यूमर प्राइस इंडेक्स रिलीज किया है उसमें 5% ऐड करेंगे. उसके बेस पे जो भी रेट कम होगा उस रेट के अकॉर्डिंग एक स्कूल अपनी नॉर्मल फीस को इंक्रीज कर सकता है. सपोज द salary increase is 10% in comparison to the previous year, and the salary increase of the teaching staff is 10%, and the government has given the CPI rate is 6%. So this means 6 plus 5 is equal to 11%. Now the school can increase the fees only up to 10% because the school has increased the salary of the teaching staff by 10%. and this lines make it clear for every school who is operating in the state of UP, by which the school can increase their annual fees. And at the time of admission, जब भी कोई बच्चा एडमिशन के लिए आएगा उस समय स्कूल has to give the fee structure of the complete number of years. Suppose a student is coming for admission in class 1, and at that time अभी एक्ट में लिखा हुआ है कि उस स्कूल को उसके 12 साल तक का फी स्ट्रक्चर उसी समय देना है बच्चे को. But how it is possible? It is not possible. So at that time, school is giving the undertaking or giving that type of fee structure to the parents that we will increase the fees as per the formula which has been given by the government, such as increase in teacher salary or CPI 5%. So as per that formula, whatever the figure will come, the school will increase the fees accordingly. And I think this point number 4 is not relevant, because this is relevant at the time when the school starting the calculation of the fees. And most important, this section 4.1 only clarify the fee increase of the existing students. Whenever there is only any new student and school wants to charge the fees, then school is free to charge any amount of fees as per their decision and discretion from the new students. There is no restriction in the act related to fees which has been charged by the school from the new students. So this is a self-regulatory mechanism, and there is no approval from any government or any authority within the state or within the district. As per section 5, all the fees charged from the students, and any school cannot run any commercial or any other activity. If they are running anything which is in the nature of commercial activity, then this income should be in the books of the school, not in the books of the educational entity, the promoting body under which the school is running. So the income of any generated by the school has to be in the books of the school only. Another section which is very important is section 6, that school is getting some money from the students. Then out of that money, only 15% of that money the school can transfer to their promoting educational entity, to their promotional educational entity, their society, trust, or section 8 company, only up to 15%. And that educational entity will use that 15% money for the further development of education, or for spreading the education, not for any other purposes, not for any commercial purposes, not for any one's individual purposes. These are the disclosure as per section 7 of the Act. Any school which is being recognized, and as per the UP Fee Regulation Act, उनको अपनी वेबसाइट पे डालना होगा कि उनका accreditation and recognition status क्या है, what are their affiliation number, what is their admission policy, what is their fee structure. School has to display their current year fee structure, their last year fee structure, and their coming year fee structure. So this means at any point of time, there will be 3 different type of fee structure as should be available on the school website. And apart from that, the facilities which has been provided by the school should also be displayed on the website. And other than that, space ratio, student-teacher ratio, teachers' qualification details, major events and major functions which has been conducted, which is going to be happen in the school, has to be displayed on the website. And this disclosure should remain on the public domain throughout the complete academic year. Now, the question comes that school has decided their fees, and they ask the students to submit the fees. But now, if there is any question or is there any doubt in the parents' mind, then they are having that the school has increased the fees is not as per the Fee Regulation Act, or they are asking the fees which is not as per consistent with the regulation of the fee provisions. So in that case, the parents can file a complaint against the school. Starting of that complaint any parent which is not convinced with the fees which has been charged by the school, first they have to file a complaint with the school, and within that 15 days, the school should supposed to dispose of that complaint and satisfy the parents about their fee, or they have to change their fee if the parent is correct and the school is charging the wrong amount of fees. But if school is not agree with the parents allegations or parents complaints, then the parents will file the complaint in the fee committee, which has been called fee regulatory committee, or you can say the district fee regulatory committees, which has been enacted in every state, in every district of the state of UP. And this fee regulator committee will look after the matter, and accordingly they will ask the school to submit their books of accounts, or they ask any information from the school, and accordingly they dispose of the complaints which has been filed by the parents. So there is a composition of the district fee regulatory committee. The district magistrate is the head, and a chartered accountant, PWD engineer. So there are 7 members who are the part of that DFRC committee. And that committee should work. This is the normal procedures as per the Code of Civil Procedure 1908, that quorum and all other features. There's a penal provisions. If the order of the DFRC is not complied by the school, then there is a financial punishment of ₹1 lakh at the first time. And if the school is again not following the instruction of the DFRC second time, then there is a fine of 5 lakh. And in the third time, they have to ask the withdrawal, recognition of the school, and take the serious action against the school. So I think that DFRC Act or the UP Fee Regulation Act, basically I covered the state of UP, but now in India, most of the states are having their own Fee Regulation Act, such as Rajasthan is having some provisions, Delhi is having some separate provisions. So in case if any of our audience having any issue, or anyone wants any clarity related to any other state of India, then they can give their queries to us, and we will answer all the queries related to the Fee Regulation Act of the respective states. Now coming to the Income Tax Act 1961, that what are the provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961 which are applicable on the educational institutions and societies. So this means, so there are major sections is Section 11. Section 11 of the Income Tax Act basically deals with the Section 10, 11, 12. There are three sections, or you can say 4 sections, Section 10, 11, 12, 13, which are dealing with the education entities. And for claiming the exemption as an educational entity, under Section 11, the entity has to be registered and get the certificate under Section 12. However, if any entity is not having the certificate under Section 12AA of the Act, then they can also get the exemption under Section 1023C. 1023C is basically a very broad section, and in comparison to Section 11. 1023C is further divided into 2 parts. If the turnover, if the receipts of the educational entity is up to ₹5 crores, then there is no need to take any recognition, any approval from the income tax authorities. Their income is exempt under Section 1023C, 3rd AD. So this is very, very good section for the new and new schools where the turnover or the receipt is less than 5 crores. They are not supposed to take any approval or any recognition from the income tax department related to the exemption. But there are 2 prime purposes. The receipts is only for the educational purposes, and one more important point, that the institution is run for the charitable purposes and not for any commercial or for any other purposes. And if the institution is having the turnover more than 5 crores, then they are supposed to take the approval under Section 23C6, and this certificate will be given by the Chief Commissioner of the Income Tax Act. Now I'm talking about the Income Tax Act 19 as per Section 10 or as per Section 11, that what is the condition and how the institution can claim the income tax exemptions. So in any case, if the institution is applied 85% of the revenue for educational and charitable purposes then the rest of the 15% shall be exempted income. And this can be used by the educational entity for some future expansion purposes, and this can be shown in the reserves and surplus and in the corpus fund of the educational entity. And suppose if the educational entity is not able to spend 85% of their receipts, then in case the shortfall can be carried forward to the next 5 years. Okay, this means if anything which is not spent by me by any educational entity which is for, and the current year expenditure is less than 85%, then this amount can be carried forward for the next 5 years. Initially, this amount can be carried forward in the 5 year, and if not utilized in the 5 year, then in the 6th year it is taxable. But now it is taxable in the 5th year if it is not utilized in that 5th year. And if the amount is not utilized and there is a surplus, then it can be carried forward in the 5 years. But in that condition, any educational entity is required to deposit that money under section 11.5 of the Act. Section 11.5 basically specifies the various forums and various modes. Section 11.5 specifies the various modes and various areas where any educational entity can invest their money. Another change which has been brought by the finance bill is that the corpus donation will be exempt. Any institution can give to another type of educational institution the corpus donation, and that corpus donation can be exempt if it is invested by the another entity under section 11.5 of the Act. And the application out of the corpus cannot be set off against the current, as the corpus donation is not taxable, because corpus, if you are getting any corpus donation from any entity, then you are not supposed to spend that corpus donation to get the exemption. Corpus can directly come in your balance sheet, and it will not route it through your income and expenditure account. So the amount spent from the corpus cannot be used for the application of the fund. For claiming the exemption, the educational entity or the trust society is required to file the ITR 7 as per the income tax rules and Act.
Vikram, I'm going to stop you over here for a moment. There is a question which has come exactly related to this point, which is migration mandatory for taking admission in any class? This has come from somebody from West Bengal. So specific to that state, if there is any kind of a question.
Migration from one state or one school?
I think it will be state. Now, when we are talking of Income Tax Act, it will be from one state to another.
No,
Mr. Banerjee, if you can type on this window and specify. So if you can explain, I think in both the situations, that would be better.
I think migration of the student from one school to another school or from one state to another state, there is no impact in the income tax forum. There is only the CBSE laws has to be taken care. As per the CBSE laws, the student has to take the transfer certificate TCE from one school whenever he is taking the admission in another school. Yeah. And I think the specific query, whenever you will get, then we will answer that queries in writing and after seeing all the things.
Okay. I think this takes care of his question. Yeah. Okay.
I think our colleague Mr. Damodar is a senior person. I think he is in the panel. I request if he is there and if he is having some issue. So now whether he is there, if he is there, then he can take that part, because this is the prime area where he is having the very good expertise. Anshu, whether he is there or we have to continue.
I think he's not there, so we need to take it. From
Okay,
here.
so Anshu, now you can take that amendment in section 1023C and 12A.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, sir. So I'm Anshu, and I'll take the seminar ahead from here. So recently in the Finance Act 2022, several amendments have been brought up. So earlier the institutions used to claim exemption either under 1023C or 12AA. So these are similar kind of provisions, but to bring some uniformity in both the sections, the Finance Act has brought in some new amendments which are effective. Some are effective from the financial year 22-23, while some are effective from financial year 23-24. So earlier accumulation of funds, which was permissible under section 12AA. So now even societies registered under 1023C will be able to accumulate the surplus funds and carry it forward for 5 years. So they need to utilize it up to the 5th year. Otherwise, it will be taxable in the 6th year. So the Income Tax Act has also brought various penal provisions for benefits transferred to the trustees, directors, or any specified persons of the society or the trust. Earlier, there were no penal provisions as such. So as long as it is an arm's length transaction, it's okay. But anything excess, which is, any excess benefits, it's taxable. It is taxable, plus you have to pay a penalty on that. On the first instance, the penalty is 100%. And on the second instance, the penalty is 200% of the amount so diverted to the trustee or the specified person. So another important amendment which was brought in is that now only expenses on a payment will be allowed. So earlier, some institutes used to do it on a accrual basis, some on a cash basis. So now only cash basis will be allowed.
Is there some network issue? That one?
Not on our side.
Suddenly, Anshu is not.
There is some issue at Anshu's ma'am side.
Okay, we'll wait for a while. Vikram, would you like to continue in the meantime?
I think we have to wait for 2 minutes, then otherwise I will continue with that.
Yeah, sure.
During that period, if anyone has been any question, can ask, so they can raise their hand.
Sure. Yeah, this is a good idea. If anyone has any questions till now, maybe you can
I think
ask.
Anshu has joined again. Anshu?
Okay.
Yeah, Anshu, please continue,
Yeah.
Anshu.
Yeah, so yeah, it got disconnected. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, you're audible now.
Yeah, so we were talking about the amendments. I hope I've completed on that.
Yeah, you are talking about that a claim of exemption, but return has to be filed in section 139(4). Yeah.
Okay. So let's go on to the recent Supreme Court judgments which were delivered in the month of November in the in the matter of New Noble Education Society and Ahmedabad Urban Development Society. So these two judgments have actually created a lot of ripple here and there. And even today, there was an article in the Economic Times on the front page that the shadow of IT department is looming over charities. So basically, these two judgments just wanted to, that educational institutions should be solely engaged in educational activities. So earlier, the definition was predominantly. So there's a difference between predominantly and solely. Now, the Supreme Court has specifically defined solely as to the exclusion of all other activities. So if you are engaged in education, that means your sole purpose should be education and not anything else. So this is something which we need to be really careful of. And the objective, of course, of the institution should be charitable and not for profit. The profit should be reasonable. Profit making is not a sin, as the court has specified, but anything excess is definitely, which is something can get the taxman, come to you. So although there is no definition of what is surplus, what is reasonable, what is unreasonable, and we're expecting, some guidelines or circulars by the income tax department in the near future in the budget, which is going to come up in the month of February. But the underlying thing is that the profit, the cost plus marginal markup should be your profit. That's it. The profit should contain a reasonable. The profit should generate a reasonable surplus to carry out the expansion activities, the development activities. But if we say that we want to include development cost as part of the total cost and we want to load it on the students, that is not permissible as of now.
So as per, I think,
Yeah.
Anshu, you are very much right on that. As per the old judgment of the Supreme Court in case of TMA Pi, they have given the reasonable surplus, definition of reasonable surplus, and in that judgment they have asked, or they have said that the 15% of the surplus, if any educational institution is generating, then it can be treated as the reasonable surplus. But now in the recent, but in the recent judgment, Supreme Court seems very, very strict on the profiteering or on the generating of the surplus by educational institutions. As the today's article in the Economic Times is also saying about that the income tax department is having the main focus on the educational entity and charitable entities, and now they are giving more string. They are framing more string rules and regulations, and there may be the chances of more raids and search related to that institutions. Okay, now you continue.
So actually these two judgments, the recent judgments, it has actually given a weapon in the hands of the income tax officials. There was a recent judgment in this December only in the matter of Income Tax Appellate Tribunal versus the Hyderabad hospital, wherein that hospital used to run on it was a company operating on profit. They converted to a Section 25 company, and the income tax actually rejected the application on the grounds that they were providing the services at the same cost which they were providing earlier. And this hospital had concessional land allotted to it by the government, and it did not provide any concessional services to the poor. So, so if we project ourselves as a charitable institution, we should actually do charity for that. So that is the underlying message. Yeah. So, there's another act, FCRA, which I want to speak about. So that is the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act 2010. We need to get registered under this act only if you're receiving foreign contributions. So registration for the registration under this act, we need to get the approval from the MHA, Ministry of Home Affairs. And the registration is valid for a period of 5 years. So what is actually foreign contribution? Foreign contribution is any donation which we receive from a foreign source. The foreign source may be any foreign entity, any foreign government, any foreign individual, national, but NRIs are not covered under the foreign source. So any amount which we receive from a foreign source, we need to declare it before the government, and we need to obtain a registration before we actually receive it. So where do we receive it? We receive it in a separate designated bank account, which we need to open with the SBI New Delhi. Earlier, there was this, we could have opened the account anywhere in the bank, in any bank, but now it is mandated to open an FCRA account only with the SBI, and that too in the Delhi branch, New Delhi Sansad Marg branch. So that is the receipt account. We receive all the contributions in that account, but we may have multiple utilizations account in several banks. But one thing we need to keep in mind that we cannot mix non-FCRA funds with the FCRA funds. So that has to be kept separately and utilized only for the purpose for which we are receiving it. So a separate book of accounts has to be maintained. If we receive foreign contributions, the annual returns have to be filed. Even if we have not received a foreign contribution in any particular year, or we have not expended any money, still we need to file a nil return. This act, the act specifically lays down that up to 20% of the amount which you have received in any year, it can be spent on administrative purposes. It has to be spent on the purpose for which it has been given to us, and it cannot be spent on any speculative purpose. If it is so spent, our registration may be cancelled. So I think that's all for the FCRA. We can move to the next act, which is the Gratuity Act.
I think on the screen, this is the Goods and Service Tax Act 2017. So
Sure,
we
sir,
can also talk about that. Okay?
Yeah.
So as per the Goods and Service Tax Act 2017, this is the act which has been enacted by the Modi government in 2017 after a lot of confusion and lot of opposition by the government, by the opposition parties. The government has enacted that GST Act 2017. So GST is a very, very big act. It is a replacement of many acts such as excise duty, sales tax, and many other acts. But we are talking about the GST Act only in relation to the educational institutions. What is the applicability of GST on the education institutions? Under the GST Act, educational is being defined such as any school, any preschool education, and education up to the higher school or equivalent. This type of institutions will come under the educational institutions. Education as a part of curriculum for obtaining a qualification recognized by any law or for the timing in force. Education is a part of an approved vocational education course. This means as per the GST Act, these three types of educational institutions will be covered under the GST guidelines. You can say the GST guidelines has defined the educational institutions under these three main lines. Now, I'm talking about whether this GST is applicable on educational institutions or not, such as any income which has been derived by any educational institutions from students for education purposes is 100% exempt. There is no need to charge any amount of GST or to pay any amount of GST to government. So you can say, any school education, any college education, or any education which has been approved or recognized is not supposed to chargeable under the GST. So as you all aware कि सभी स्कूलों में जो भी फीस होती है, this fees is not having the GST load. And now the next question comes that educational institutions are taking the services from outside vendors to run that educational institutions. So whether these institutions are required to pay the GST to these vendors? Okay. On that aspect, the GST department has clarified, and the GST guidelines has made it very much clear that these four services mean, number one, transportation of student, facility, and staff. Whenever school is taking the services from any transporter for transportation of students, faculty, and staff, then school is not supposed to pay any amount of GST on these services to the transport service provider. Number two, catering, including the midday meal. Midday meal schemes sponsored by the government. This means private unaided school अगर कोई है, तो वहां पर government की ये scheme बहुत कमी होती है. तो कोई कैटरिंग सर्विसेज अगर स्कूल में है, स्कूल में बच्चे को मील दिया जा रहा है या कोई भी सर्विसेज खाने से रिलेटेड बच्चे को दिया जाता है, दिस मीन्स द स्कूल whenever paying the amount to the contractor who is cooking or providing the catering services to the students on behalf of the school, then in that case that catering services is not supposed to GST exempt, or they are not supposed to pay the amount. And third is security or cleaning or housekeeping services, which has been performed by any contractor in the school. Then in that case, school is not supposed to pay, and the contractor will not ask GST on their services. And the last is that admission related services or any services which has been provided by the school to the students, and in turn school is taking the services from some other agency on account of examination and admission. In that case, the services which has been taken by the school shall be GST exempted. Now, should education institution be registered? Because the educational institution is providing the output services as a education to the students, and this service is nil taxable at a nil rate. So this means whether the education institution is required to register under GST Act. Yes, there is no compulsion on any educational institution to get it registered with the GST department. As such, there is no output services which is taxable. But if the educational institution is providing or selling books to the students, uniform, or any other type of services to the student which doesn't come under the category of education, in that case, these schools are required to get the GST registration. And as and when school is giving these services to the student, they have to charge and in turn pay to the government. And last is that in case if the school is taking the services and these services are under the reverse charge mechanism of the GST. Reverse charge mechanism is applicable as per the GST bylaws if the school is dealing with the unregistered dealer, unregistered buyers, service providers, or some other selling the scrap. Scrap is also comes under the buyer is also mainly comes under the unregistered. So in that case, school is required to get it registered under the GST bylaws. I think FCRA is covered. Anshu, whether you are there, whether you want to cover that?
There. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go ahead with the Payment of Gratuity Act.
Yeah. I want, because मेरा काफी लंबा हो गया, दामोदर सर नहीं है.
No.
So it will be
no issues, sir. We are gaining from your knowledge. So let me take ahead from here and discuss the Payment of Gratuity Act. Now, we as an organization are covered under this act if we employ more than 10 persons, 10 or more persons. So what is gratuity? It is basically an amount which an employer pays to an employee once he exits the organization. Now, the exit may be in the form of resignation, retirement, death and disablement, so on. That means like these three are the main reasons. So gratuity, it is a statutory liability of the organization to pay the employee the gratuity. And to an employee who has completed basically 5 or more years of service in the organization. Once the act becomes applicable to any employer, even if the number of employee goes less than 10, still the act continues to be applicable to the organization. And gratuity is something which has to be paid by the organization even if it goes bankrupt. So it is a legally enforceable right on the part of the employee to avail the gratuity benefits, and he can approach the court to recover that amount from the employer. It is generally paid within a period of 1 month from the date it becomes due. So the employee on retirement or resignation, they apply for gratuity payment, and we need to clear the payment within a month of from the date. So there's under the soon to be implemented labor codes, the center plans to reduce the gratuity eligibility threshold to 1 year of service for fixed term or contractual employees. Now, under the current provisions, we pay gratuity to those employees who have completed at least 5 years of service with us. But if the as and when the new labor codes are implemented and notified, so it will give the benefit of gratuity even to fixed term employees who or contractual employees if they're employed with us for 1 year. So this is the formula for gratuity calculation. I'm sure it's basically given gratuity at the rate of the last drawn salary into number of completed years of service. So we take 15 days average salary. So yeah, that's all for gratuity, I think. Let me move on to the Employees Provident Fund. It's applicable to every establishment in which 20 or more people are employed. So it's a statutory obligation on the part of the employer to deduct a specified percentage of the contribution from employee's salary for the Provident Fund. And the employer also contributes the specified percentage and deposits the amount. The amount needs to be deposited before 15th of the next month of the wage period. Basically, for the month of December, we need to deposit the PF by 15th of Jan. As soon as any employee joins the organization, we should ideally take 2 forms from him. One is form number 2, which is a nomination form. Employees can do the nomination online also, but it's good if we take a form 2 from the employee and get it submitted to the PF department. Another form is form number 11. It is basically a declaration from the employee whether he was covered under the EPF Act earlier or not. What is his UA number? So every employee who is employed with us under the PF, so a UA number is given to them. That is a universal account number. So this is a unique digit which continues throughout the work time of the employee. So even if he changes the organization, the UA number continues to be the same. So process of withdrawal and all becomes easier for the employee. So if an employee already has a UN number generated, we must ensure that we deduct PF for him. Generally, if an employee is drawing a salary of more than 15,000, we may or may not deduct and deposit PF for him. Okay, but if an UN number is already with him, it is mandatory on our part to deduct and deposit the PF for him. So whenever we deposit the PF, a part of it goes to the employee's deposit insurance scheme also. So which provides the life insurance benefit to the employee in case of death to the minimum of 2.5 lakhs and maximum of 6.5 lakh. So that is something which is paid by the department on death of the employee. So yeah, so that is for the EPF, I think. Let's move on to the next slide, sir. It's ESIC. So ESIC was started for providing medical, monetary, and other kind of benefits to employees, and is applicable to establishments having more than 10 employees. Generally, the employees whose salary do not exceed 21,000 are entitled to get benefit under this scheme. It's and employees covered in this scheme are not covered under the Maternity Act, which we are going to talk about in the next slide. The employees must deduct the employee contribution from the amount payable and pay the contribution, both the employee contribution and the employer contribution at the specified rates. Currently, the rate is 0.75% from the employee side and 3.25% from the employer's side. So as with the PF, ESIC also needs to be deposited within 15 days from the end of the month in which the contribution is made. So in ESIC, we have something which is called a wage period. So if an employee, the salary of the employee exceeds 21,000 in any given month, as in April or May, so we need to get deposit his PF for the whole 6 months from April to September, irrespective of the fact that the employee's salary has exceeded 21,000. So the ESIC provides various types of benefits to the employees like medical benefits, sickness benefits, disabled benefit, and so on. So let's move on to the next slide. Maternity Benefit Act. A woman is entitled to maternity benefit if she has worked for at least 80 days in the 12 months preceding the date of her expected delivery. The Act states that every woman shall be entitled to a maternity benefit of 26 weeks. Out of this 26 weeks, 8 weeks can be availed before the expected delivery date, and the rest of it obviously after the delivery. If the women employee has 2 or more children, the entitlement is 12 weeks of maternity benefit. Out of it, 6 weeks can be taken before the delivery date. Now the law allows even the adoption of a child. The child who is less than 3 months of age. In case any woman adopts a child who is less than 3 months of age, she can avail the maternity benefit of 12 weeks from the date on which the child was handed over to her. In case of miscarriage also, the maternity benefit available is for 6 weeks. This act also lays down some penal provisions for non-adherence of the rules. So if the employer fails to pay the maternity benefit amount, then he shall be punished with imprisonment for not less than 3 months, extendable up to 1 year, with a fine not less than 2,000 rupees and which may extend up to 5,000. Apart from the maternity benefit which needs to be paid to the employee also has to ensure that a woman cannot be called on duty within 6 weeks from the date of delivery, and the employer has to provide a conducive environment to her and not allot her any arduous nature of work or any work in which she has to stand for long hours. So we need to be very careful on that point also. And the amount of maternity benefit which is paid to the employee is calculated on the basis of the average pay of the last 3 months before the day when she goes on the maternity leave. So the next slide is Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013. So any workplace which employs 10 or more employees must have an internal complaint committee. Now, it's an obligation on the employer to form this committee by an order in writing. And this committee is headed by the chairperson, who is the presiding officer in every meeting. And the presiding officer must be a senior level female employee of the organization. The committee consists of other members, 2 or more employees of the organization, and 1 external member from any non-government entity who has knowledge of such issues. Basically, more than 50% of the committee members should be women, and the committee members are appointed for a term of 3 years. As a duty, the employer is bound under this act to provide necessary facilities to this internal committee to deal with any complaint which it receives, conduct an inquiry, and just arrive at some conclusion and take suitable action in this regard. The employer should also ensure that there is a safe environment for women in the organization, and display at conspicuous place the penal consequences under this act, organize various workshops, awareness programs for sensitizing all the employees with the provisions of this act. Yeah. So, Vikram sir, can you take it from here?
Yeah, sure. So this is the Right to Information Act 2005.
Shall I?
No, just wait. So a private unaided school initially after the enactment of the Right to Information Act at the time of Manmohan Singh government, the main intention of the government is that the institution which is responsible and accountable to the public has to provide the information to the people about their working or about their needs. So the private, initially the private unaided school is not covered by the RTI, as it is not a public authority, as defined in Section 2H of the Act. Hence, the information cannot be sued from a private unaided schools under the RTI Act. Initially, that the private unaided school is not a government authority. They cannot their entities, their people, and their heads is not appointed by the government. So initial thought is that they are not covered under the RTI Act. But the education department or any complaint government authority may call for any information from the school, and the department may supply such information to the applicant seeking information. However, the information related to the third party can be provided only with the prior permission of the party concerned. In case any application is received addressed by the public information officer or of the institution, then the same should be replied either by the principal or by the official, starting that the school is not covered by the RTI Act, hence information sought cannot be provided. The amount paid by the applicant by way of postal order department should be returned with the reply. But after some judgments that Anshu, whether you can clarify that RTI Act now is applicable on the private unaided schools?
No, RTI Act is applicable only when to schools when they receive land at concessional rates from the school.
Yeah.
Otherwise, private unaided school per se are not covered under this act. And one thing which we need to keep in mind that whenever we receive any letter from anybody that we are seeking this kind of information from your organization, and it is addressed to any public information officer of the organization. Like, obviously the letter needs to be replied, but it will be replied in the name of the principal or anybody, any other official of the school, but we should not reply it as a public information officer, thereby confirming that we have any public information officer. The amount which we receive from that letter, it's a postal Indian postal order ₹10. So it should be returned back with the reply. So
But
this
I think there is a very serious lapse on account of the government rules or the judgment by the court that RTI Act is applicable on the educational institution, and this question is under discussion, and lot of lawyers and courts are working on that. As the educational institution is getting the land on a concessional rate, suppose in Uttar Pradesh, whenever you are getting any land from the Uttar Pradesh Awas Vikas, then they are restricting the FAR of that land. Suppose they are providing you the land at a 60% of the circle rate value, but on the other hand, they are also restricting restricting the FAR. If the normal land having the FAR of 2, but the school land is having the FAR is only 1. So this means if you are buying a plot of 1 lakh feet from the government, then you can construct only up to 1 lakh square feet on a land which has been provided by the government at a concessional rate. But if you see the other way, if you get that land at the 100% value, then you can make 2 lakh square feet of the building on that land. So this means indirectly you are not getting any benefit from any government authority. This is the loophole of the system, when the people are saying that you are getting the land at a concessional rate, but practically you are not getting anything, because you are taking the less amount of FAR and you are not able to construct the building as per your requirement. So basically, the judgment which has been given by the court about the applicability of the RTI Act on the educational institutions which has get the land at a concession rate or getting any subsidy or any support from the government is not right in a correct context as per the spirit of that act. Okay, so now we can continue, because I just clarify this thing because this is not written in the act, but only for the benefit of our audience, that they can understand that what is the act and what is the remedy is available to us whenever we are talking with the government officials. I think continue you can on that.
Yeah, so the Code on Wages 2019, the central government has drafted this act, but it's not yet been notified. Yeah. So whenever it's notified at a later date, probably in the month of July or August next year. So the 4 acts which will be subsumed in this act code will be the Equal Remuneration Act 1976, the Minimum Wages Act 1948, the Payment of Bonus Act 1965, the Payment of Wages Act 1936. So the key features of this Code on Wages or the Payment of Wages Act, as we say, which is applicable now, is that the wages need to be paid by 7th of the next month, as in of the next month in which it becomes actually due. So the central government, can we just go on to the next slide, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah. There will be no deduction from wages except those permissible under the law, which means in relation to the tax. If the employee has taken any loan, we can deduct obviously the loan installment. But the maximum deduction which is permissible is up to 50% of the wages. The central government lays down different floor wages for different categories of jobs, work, and the state governments need to notify the minimum wages which is over and above the floor wages as decided by the central government. Now, each state government can notify different floor wages in their respective states and for different categories of work. So let's move on to the next slide, sir. Can you take it from here?
Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. Some safety guidelines has been issued by the NCPCR, the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. So these guidelines are something which we actually should ensure is followed in our schools. We need to get a safety audit done in our premises, install CCTV cameras at vulnerable points, and ensure that these are actually functional. We must get the police verification and biometric evaluation of all our staff employed, ensure that they are not engaged in any kind of unwanted activities. We should ensure that the supporting staff, the housekeeping staff, the security staff, they're employed only through authorized agencies, and we should maintain proper records in relation to attendance. There, we need to have their Aadhaar card, everything for our record and purposes. We should constitute a parent-teacher-student meeting to address the needs, safety needs of the students. I think parent-teacher committee is also required for the determination of fee, but we have students in this committee to address the safety needs of the students. Let's go on to the next slide, sir.
I think Anshu, on that aspect, I want to make it clear that as per the CBSE guidelines, the CCTV cameras backup, or you can say the history of the data, as per the guidelines, 45 days is required to be maintained by all the schools. So this means the school has to take the sufficient number of NVRs and DVRs or the hard disk to store the backup of the 45 days, or they can now use the cloud-based data storage system also. That the safety guidelines is very important, because if there is any flaw or anything which is school is not able to provide the complete safety to their students or to their staff, then there is a direct impact on the goodwill and on the goodwill of the promoter of the organization and the principal. So schools has to take utmost care regarding the safety guidelines, or they have to plan the school in a way so that there should not be any lapses, such as their appointment of their fourth grade staff, their police verification. And we have to work in a practical scenarios. Police verification does not permit or does not give the license that the people to whom you are appointing is good in their conduct or in their behavior. So school has to give their due diligence or use their insight also about the credit worthiness of the fourth grade and other staff, and their working within the school system, and ensure about the completeness of the work and the safety measures which has been taken as per identified or as per given by the CBSE or by the state governments. The safety guidelines NCPC are the access to school building by outsiders should be controlled and visitors monitored. To provide training and development for staff to address their responsibility to protect children from any form of abuse. The school shall constitute separate committee of redressal of public, staff, parents, student grievances, internal complaint committee on sexual harassment, and committee under POSCO Act 2000 12, and details of these committees shall be displayed on the school notice board and on the school website.
Now, sir, this POCSO Act is actually very important. Protection of Children from Sexual Offence Act 2012, wherein, it is mandatory for us to report any kind of such offence to the, appropriate authorities. And there is a penal provision for non-reporting of such acts to the concerned authorities. Now, there was a recent Supreme Court judgment also in this case, where a non-reporting of the act was, taken a serious view. So we should actually understand the importance of this act and ensure that there is no unreporting, underreporting, non-reporting of any such act which is committed, in relation to the students, basically.
Yeah, you continue, Anshu.
Yeah, the schools are also, directed to adhere to the guidelines issued by the Ministry of Home Affairs, the Human Resources, and the board from time to time. Any violation or any lapses with regard to the safety and well-being of the children in the school campus will invite appropriate action. Now, obviously, because we need to take the utmost care of our students and need to follow all the safety protocols in this regard. So the next slide, sir, for you.
Yeah, law related to land, building, and vehicles. So this is the mixed match of multiple functions of the school on which the school is functioning, such as the land and building. And as most of the school land and building has been allotted by the state government development boards, such as in UP, if we talk about the Lucknow, there's the Lucknow Development Authority. In Ghaziabad, there's the Ghaziabad Development Authority, and same type of development authorities available in all the cities of the state in all the states and in India, and some other bodies also. So whenever these bodies are giving the land for the educational purposes, then they impose certain conditions. That the condition can be that the school has to give the admission to the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes students, and they have to give the admission to that development board authorities, employees, kids in the school at a concessional rate. So if these conditions are already written in the bylaws or in the lease deed of the school land, then every school has to follow it. Otherwise, the land allotting authority have the right to cancel the lease deed, and in that condition, the school will be in a troubled state. And school can only be constructed on the institutional land. Agricultural land cannot be used for a setup of a school, and mainly on any agricultural land, the government or the state government will not provide the NOC, and the approving board will also not give the recognition. The school building, the building on which has been constructed, should be as per the building plan approved by the local municipality or the local development authority, and this plan has to be done in sync with the national building code and some other rules regarding that, and these building plans should having the provisions related to the safety and security whenever you are constructing a building which is for the use of the students. And now I'm coming on the some other features such as land, such as vehicles. School, most of the schools is running the vehicles, school buses. So in that case, school owners and school administrator have to ensure that every bus is having the fitness certificate, and as per the local bylaws of that vehicle act of that state, most of the state is having the provisions to activate the GPS and CCTV in the school buses. So this should be in a bus, the first aid kit, the fire extinguisher, and the grills on the windows, so that the kids can should be safe in that window of the bus. So this should be functional in all times. School bus should be written, it should be written on the school bus that it is school bus, and the name and contact number of the school and the driver should also be displayed. And the bus of the school should be on the yellow color. There should be a speed governor on the school buses, and as per the local norms or as per the norms of the state, there is a limit of 40 kilometers under which the school bus can only be run. The driver of any bus, light motor vehicle, should have a valid license and should have 4 years, mean compulsorily 4 years license, and then wear a blue uniform and black shoes. Under Section 188 of the Act of the Indian Penal Code, any failure of the schools on behalf to obey these new rules and regulations can lead to the punishment. And I think recently काफी सभी लोगों ने सुना होगा कि बसेस में कुछ अभी I think last year यूपी में गाजियाबाद डिस्ट्रिक्ट में मोदी नगर में एक बस से 2-3 बच्चों का एक्सीडेंट हुआ था, सॉरी एक बच्चे का एक्सीडेंट हुआ था। उसके बाद काफी रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस भी स्ट्रिक्ट हुए और उसके बाद गवर्नमेंट भी काफी एग्रेसिवली इस पे काम करना शुरू किया। बट आवर ओपिनियन टू ऑल आवर टारगेट ऑडियंस इज दैट every school and every school promoter has to ensure that there should not be any lapse on account of safety and security of the student. This is the major area where everyone has to play a very important role, because if it is compromised, then everything will be compromised, because then the government authorities and the police administration will not leave the school and their promoters, and they will mean force that you have not following the norms, and due to your default the mishappening has been happening. Anshu, you are there?
Yes, sir, I'm there. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
So this protection of children from sexual offences is something which we just spoke about when we were talking about the safety guidelines. What I just said, that any person who has any knowledge or even some kind of apprehension, it may not be a confirmed knowledge, but any apprehension or knowledge that an offence has been committed, such information needs to be provided to the special juvenile police unit or the local police. And failure to report is punishable with imprisonment up to 6 months, with fine, or with both. Now this is one very important point which we need to consider as a school, that any person who is in charge of an institution who fails to report the commission of an offence in respect of a subordinate under his control, he shall be punished with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year and with fine. So if any subordinate, any existing employee has conducted any such kind of offence under this act, that needs to be obviously be reported, and action needs to be taken by the concerned authorities. We have national commission set up National Commission for Women, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. Now these commissions are at the national level, and they can suo moto, initiate actions, inquire into complaints, look into matters of violation of any women and child right. They may ensure that you implement the laws which have been enacted by the central government for the protection of women and children, and the non-compliance of any guideline instructions issued by appropriate authorities from the time to time, if they are not adhered to, complied with. So the commission can take suo recognition of such matters and initiate proceedings. So women and child right is something which we need to follow, adhere to, and ensure that there is no violation or deprivation of their rights.
So I think this is the complete presentation. Anjali, now it is over to you. You can ask the audience about,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vikram and Anshu. I think you did a brilliant session. All of us feel a lot enlightened about many things. I will start with some questions that I have been able to note down while the session was on. One I had asked in between also. So one question is, Vikram, can a school avoid registration with GST?
Yeah, sure. If the school is not providing any services which attract the GST, I give, especially given in my presentation, that if a school is not selling the books, uniforms, and any shoes or any other things which is GST is leviable, then school can avoid the registration of GST.
Mhm. But is this catering and canteen service also exempted from GST?
So catering and canteen services is not a part of schooling. They are the services which has been given by the contractor. So
So we
if
are
these
extending,
services,
all schools are required to extend them to some outsider if they want to put these services at all, right? Okay.
If the school is providing these services by their own name, then in that case, school is required to take the registration, because whenever they are selling the food items, then they are supposed to charge the GST
Sure.
and pay it to the government.
Okay, one very interesting question which I thought will help all of us here. That let's say if there is a vehicle which was used for transportation of students from their home to school, etc., and the school decides to sell that vehicle, then will this also attract GST in this case?
So basically, when the school is using the transportation, and the school now wants to sell that vehicle, so basically they are scrapping. In that case, the school is supposed to get it registered under the reverse charge mechanism if they are selling that vehicle.
Okay, all right. So question for Anshu.
In that case, the school is I think school is required to registered under GST.
Okay, so let's say if we are a school and we are using some vehicles. Today we decide to sell a vehicle. We will have to first register ourselves under GST and then sell the vehicle, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, question for Anshu. Gratuity is payable to employees who are completing 5 years of service. Now, one or two questions that have come up related to gratuity is, let's say if an employee has completed 4.6 years or 4.7 years of service, will they be entitled to gratuity or not? This is one question. And second is, if we have a contractual employee and the person has completed 5 years or more, will that also attract gratuity to be paid to the employee or not? So there are two separate questions, of course.
Yeah, the gratuity is payable on completion of 5 years of service. So, and any 6 months is rounded off to 1 year. Fine.
6 months
And in
above.
case, yeah, 6 months and above is rounded off to 1 year. In case of contractual employees also, if they have served for 5 years, we have to pay gratuity to them. So irrespective whether they are on pay scale or contract, as long as there is a continuity in their service and they are employed with us for a period of 5 years, we need to pay gratuity to them.
Okay, so what is it? You said there was a difference now with these labor codes coming in. So what is the difference that has come in the Gratuity Act now?
One major difference will be that the contractual employees will be entitled to get gratuity on completion of 1 year of service. Now, under the current laws, there is no such provision. So only employees who have completed 5 years of service are entitled for gratuity. But when these new labor codes kick in actually, so the contractual employees or the fixed term employee, if an employee is employed only for a period of 3 years, say, still he'll be entitled for gratuity.
So anything above 1 year will be entitled to gratuity, irrespective of whether.
No. It's only for the contractual or fixed term employees that we are talking about, that this condition of 1 year will be applicable. In case of all other employees, permanent employees, employees on pay scale, that 5-year mandatory requirement will still be there for them. It's only for the fixed term or the contractual employees which we will be employing.
But
Okay.
Anjali, main thing is that these labor code is still not functional now.
That we know.
So I just want to clarify.
I think that Anshu said at the beginning of when she was. Okay, this also takes us to some very interesting questions that have now come up over here. I was thinking that now I will ask some questions on my own, but then I suddenly saw a flux of a lot of questions that have come in. So, is it mandatory to register under society and trust in case of sole proprietorship?
Pardon?
Is it mandatory for a school to register under society and trust in case sole proprietorship? So, do we need to
Any school cannot run
run unless and until?
cannot run in any proprietorship concern. They can be they should be registered under Society Registration Act or under Indian Trust Act or under company or can be run under company under Section 8 of the Companies Act 2013.
Okay, great. So let's say we have a teacher who teaches only 2 periods a day, okay, comes for a fixed 2 periods a day and then she goes, or anything of that sort. Will she also be entitled for PF? She will be none. In that case, she will be a part-time employer. So a part-time employer is not really eligible for PF. Yes or no is what the question is.
Can you just repeat it, whether part-time employees are entitled for PF?
So basically, this is what it means, that if somebody is coming for a fixed, let's say 2 hours a day, 1 hour a day, so are they also supposed to be
So
paid?
have you given, if you have given an appointment letter to the employee, okay, the appointment letter will say that, okay, it will use the word salary. So as soon as this word salary kicks in, the PF provisions become applicable. Until and unless that employee is rendering service on a professional basis and we are giving payment under section, and we are deducting TDS under section 194J, professional services, then obviously we are not liable to deduct the PF. But if we are paying salary, we have to deduct the PF.
Great.
I just saw one question where they were asking the rate of reduction of PF. So that is 12%. 12% and the minimum amount, and that is rupees 15,000 for each employer. An employee voluntary can contribute more than 12% of 15,000, that is 1,800, but it's up to the employee. And the employer mandatory, contributes 15%, 12% of 15,000, that is 1,800 per month.
Okay, there was one question which was very, somebody asked, I replied to the question on the chat itself, which I think you would have seen. That was about that, are the employers deducting 24% of salary as PF? No, that is not the case. So if one of you can explain that.
No, it's only 12%.
So I think that you have just explained 12% of basic salary is deducted.
Yeah, but the employee can voluntarily contribute more than that, obviously.
Yeah,
but in that case, it is a voluntary contribution, your voluntary savings that you're doing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But when you call it CTC, so if you are using the term cost to the school, CTS that is, then in that case, it is 12% of basic from employee and 12% of basic from employer, both become a part of that. Am I correct on this?
12% from the employer will become part of it, basically.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a question that has come, which I thought I will ask. Now, all these rules, regulations, acts that you have spoken of, will they be applicable to schools which are NIOS Board of Education, which are under NIOS Board of Education also? So open school. So I think open school is a government body, Vikram. So it will be. Yeah. So there is no question
all the
on
rules
this.
and regulations which are applicable on the private school is obviously also applicable on the government schools.
Okay. So I think this is all. Anything more anybody wants to ask? Okay.
I think there's one question.
One more question I just saw one question. One was related to fines. So if the school charges some fines from the student, how will you account that money for? In the sense, will you be charging some more taxes on this, or how will the school?
The school is charging the fine on account of discipline. And if the school is collecting the money as a fine, then this money can be shown in the miscellaneous income of the school's books of accounts. There is no mean harm on that. Until and unless this amount has to be very minimal, there is no mean legal compulsion, and there is no any other thoughts on that.
So it is legal to charge a fine from students because you want to bring in
No,
discipline.
the
However,
fine charges from the students is basically just to penalize them for a disciplinary action, and school has to use that fine amount for the betterment of the students in the school. So this can be used and utilized in a way. Yeah.
Okay. One last question
There
that
is
I
one-
thought was, if a full-time employee refuses to take the benefit of PF, like Anshu just said that beyond 15,000 of salary, basic,
They are not required.
they are not forced, they cannot be forced. Yet they want to
Provided
be,
yeah,
yet they want to
provided
be paid.
they don't have a UN number. Okay.
Okay, so if they have a UN
Yeah.
number one, an employee can choose not to have PF if they don't have a UN number. If they have a
And,
UN number,
and the salary exceeds 15,000. So these
Okay,
are the
correct.
two preconditions.
so if
Yeah.
your salary, basic salary is less than 15,000 rupees, then it is mandatory for you to be a part of PF.
No. We have to put it in this way. If your
Hmm.
salary exceeds 15,000 and you don't have a UN number, you may opt not to deposit the PF, but you have to give a declaration in Form 11 to the employer.
Formally, correct. Okay, now let's say we have an employee who has not opted for the PF, but he wants to avail all the benefits of a regular employee, that is holidays, Sundays, etc. Is that all right?
No, PF does not have any connection with these.
These two are not connected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What if one did not get appointment letter and working in a private school for 10 years? Can he or she get gratuity?
Yes.
So first of all, you have to make sure that you get your appointment letter. If you haven't taken it till now, please make sure that you take it now.
No. If he is not having the appointment letter, then the entitlement of the gratuity is not depend upon the appointment letter.
Yeah, these are
Entitlement
two
of
separate
gratuity
things.
is depend upon the salary amount which you are getting in your bank account. This is the clear evidence which anyone can just show and claim the amount of gratuity.
Okay. Oh God, Bikram, there is so many questions now. Can a school be operated on a saving account?
Yeah. Saving account can be opened for running any school. It is permitted.
Okay. Good. I think this is enough. Most of the questions have been answered. Sushma, can you see any other question?
There is
How
one.
can a teacher know that he is getting full scale salary?
It is depend upon the teacher how is checking their salary.
So I think the salary which is given to you on your appointment letter, you have seen it and you have accepted it. And if the same is there on your salary slip, then you are getting the correct salary. I think that is the best one can explain in a simple language and not in any technical terms. But if you are questioning in terms of whether it is as per these scales given by the government or not, so it's a big circle. One cannot explain it right now. But yeah, whatever is given on your appointment letter, just cross check from that. So any
Anjali
more
ma'am,
questions?
There's
One
one
more.
last question. There's one last question. Can you please explain the difference between gratuity and PF, and do all employees get gratuity? I mean, it's a repeat question.
Basically, gratuity and PF both are the retirement benefits which has been given by any organization to its employees. And gratuity is given for a continuous work continuous work in any organization after a period of 5 years. And as per the new wage code, there are some changes, but whenever these will implemented, then the gratuity definition of the gratuity will be changed. There are two acts: Payment of Gratuity Act and the exemption under the Income Tax Act whenever you are getting any amount of gratuity. So gratuity and PF both are different. In the PF, the employee is contributing and the employer is contributing. But gratuity is totally on the shoulder of the employer. When the employee is completing the 5 years of service, the employer is supposed to pay at the time of their retirement or at the time when the employee is leaving the organization.
Okay. One more question has come again. Is there a provision for not taking for taking
taking
payment in
payment.
lieu of the leave not taken.
Okay.
So again, this
I think this question is basically related to the leave encashment. It depends upon the individual school's fee policy, leave policies. According to that, leaves can be encashed.
I think we all can be an aware employee if we make sure that whatever is given on our appointment letter and in the policy document of the school, which is shown to the employees from time to time, if that is being followed completely or not. So if your appointment letter says that you can take leave encashment, or your leave policy says you can take leave encashment, and you are being refused, that is not correct. But if you are not, if the appointment letter or policy does not have such a clause, then you should not really ask for it. As per leave norms per year, if an employee will not take any leave, okay, somebody has tried to answer this. Yeah, so what should a teacher do if she has a UAN account used in the previous school, but after joining a new school, they create a new UAN again?
I think whenever you are joining a new school, then you have to give your old UAN number. In that case, the new one school will not intimate the authorities about your new UAN number. But in that case, if the new UAN has been generated, then we have to, the employee or the organization has to file a complaint with the PF department and to request for the withdrawal of a one UAN number and continue with the older UAN number.
Sure. So I think this brings us to the end of all our questions. So we started with 155, 160 participation. And I'm so glad to share that we've been consistent. A lot of questions have come back. Constantly, there were people who have been writing great comments and have enjoyed the session. And I must tell you, both of you have done a very great thing of actually informing a lot of us who have been a part of the school systems but are unaware of some very, very pertinent issues. So thank you very much, Vikram, and thank you so much, Anshu, for sparing
I
time.
think Anjali, एक क्वेश्चन लिया हुआ है इसमें, gratuity is given according to present salary. Yeah, gratuity will be given as per your last drawn salary, not as per your appointment and not as per the salary which has been given to you at the time of your appointment.
So thank you, Mr. Dhonti. Manohar Dhonti is inviting both of you to his Bangalore school and to do a session over there. We will definitely, I think Sushma ji and her team will get in touch with you. And thank you once again, both of you, for such an enlightening session. And if I continue to keep this window open, the questions will keep coming. And Vikram will keep answering them one after another. The participants are enjoying it, that so are the audience, so are the people speaking. So thank you so much, all of you. It was great having both the speakers here and a lovely participation. So with this, we end the session today. Thank you so much once again. Sushma ji, you want to add something?
So if there are any more queries regarding the session today, you can write to us at star.in. We'll ensure that all your queries are being answered by our two experts. So thank you once again to all the participants, and thank you, Vikram sir. Thank you, Anshu ma'am, for such a wonderful and informative session. And thank you, Anjali ma'am, for being such a good moderator.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you, Vikram sir. Thank you, Sushma ma'am, Anjali ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Anshu. Thank you, Anjali
Namaskar, and have a very pleasant weekend, all of you.
Thank you very much.